Could we settle down a little bit, please? Because it is just fraction after 5. Please could I, thank you. Please could I invite Vic to report any apologies that we've received?
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillors Chan, Victory, Pran Victory, Walton, Watley and Wild.
Thank you very much. Could I ask the members if any want to make declarations of interest? So I'll go on to item 3 on the agenda, the confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. Could I ask for a proposer, please? Thank you, Malcolm. And a seconder, that's John. Thank you very much. No? Okay. Chairman's announcements. I would like to acknowledge the sad passing of Councillor Mead's wife, Val, and I'm sure members will want to join me in sending our thoughts to him and his family. Item 5 is public participation. And I can confirm that no members of the public have requested to speak. Leaders' question time. I can confirm that no questions were submitted, which brings us on to item 7, which is the council tax and the budget 2026 to 2027. Could I invite Councillor John Gallagher to move the recommendation in the report? Do I do the second now?
Thank you, Chair. Council tax budget 2026-27. So we've got this before us and the recommendations from the Executive Committee for the review and capital budgets and the council tax for the coming financial year. So broadly speaking, there are 4 elements for approval. So let me take you through these. The first recommendation is that the council's revenue and capital budgets and that no Band D equivalent increase to our element of the council tax be approved, so that we're not proposing to increase our Band D element. The second is for the calculation of the tax base of 34,431.59 and associated amounts as shown in Appendix A be approved. The third element is to approve the specific council tax requirement for the council at £6,287,208. And the fourth element of that is to approve the estimated amounts in the calculation leading to the final figures as per column 3 in Appendix A. You can see in the report the different elements of the calculation required by the 1992 Finance Act, and the council is asked to note the precepts that are issued by Worcester County Council, Hereford and Worcester Fire Authority, West Mercia Police Authority, itemised in the table in the report. All these amounts are aggregated together, resulting in the council tax figures shown in column 4 of Appendix A. The outcome of that is an average council tax for a Band E property of £2,450.92. So those are the main 4 recommendations before you for council approval. Also, the Executive Committee had recommended a revenue budget of £12,890 and a capital budget of 12,890,440 and a capital budget of 12,625,000. Precepts amounts are set in the table 4.1, and just to reiterate, the average Band D is 2,450.92 is made up as shown in table 5.2. I'd like to congratulate the finance team for all the sterling work they've done over this last year and for managing the finances so well, and we're actually financially well-run council and in a good financial position. So thanks to all the team for all their efforts over this year and actually previous years as well. So it's not just this year, it's a continuing process.
Thank you very much, John. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Jeremy. Could
Okay. So I,
oh, Councillor Rouse, sorry, didn't see.
yeah, no, I just thought, seeing as nobody was commenting on the budget, that is pretty poor, given Worcester County Council managed 7 hours, several walkouts, and God only knows what else yesterday, which I did watch a bit of because it was quite entertaining. You know, just to sort of highlight, you know, it is only a £5 we're saving everyone. It's not going to help a huge amount with the £160 that are going to added on from Worcester County Council. So it's just that, really. I just wanted to say, we usually say every year when we're raising it, it's only a £5. And when we're sort of not raising it, it's still only a £5, or possibly less for me, because I'm only in Bambi, about £3. But thank you, it's great. I'm sure I'll use it wisely.
This is going to be a named vote, please. So I'll hand over to Misha.
Okay, so I will call out your name. If you can clearly state for, against or abstain. Councillor Allen. For. Councillor Bennett.
For.
Councillor Bruton. For. Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Pam come in.
For.
Councillor Paul come in.
For.
Councillor Driscoll.
For.
Councillor Gallagher.
For.
Councillor Harrison.
For.
Councillor Jones-Williams. For. Councillor McVeigh. For. Councillor Mead.
For.
Councillor Mills.
For.
Councillor Owenson.
For.
Councillor Palmer. For. Councillor Rain.
For.
Councillor Rouse. For. Councillor Malcolm Victory.
For.
Councillor Watkins.
For.
Councillor Kathy Wells. Councillor Tom Wells. Councillor Wilmot.
For.
Councillor Wood.
Oh, sorry. That vote was unanimous. Shall we now pass on to item 9 on the agenda? Oh, sorry, 8 on the agenda. The Treasury Management and Investment Strategy. And could I invite Councillor John Gallagher to move the recommendation in the report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Treasury Management and Investment Strategy 2026-27. As you, in the report, you can see that there are 3 categories of investment that we are involved in: Treasury Management investment, service investments and commercial investments. The cash surplus comes from council tax and grants, reserves from our reserves, and there are other taxes from local authorities and central government which give rise to cash surplus. £40 million is the balance, and the yield from which we've set in the budget is 3%, so we're expecting a yield of £1.2 million from that on the 3%. The cash portfolio is managed in-house, short-term with HSBC, and CCLA security and liquidity is a priority for that. The expected return, the rate of return currently is 4.03% or 1.732 million. And the end of year performance will be shown in the final accounts report. Capital reserves as at March 26 expected to be 7.5 million. And at the end of the medium-term financial plan, that will actually come down to £35,000. So we're actually going through that element of it when we reach the point where we will no longer be a district council. We're aiming to deliver all this without borrowing and give our level of reserves over the next 3 financial years at least. There will be no need to borrow. Service investments that we have are shares in Malvern Hill Science Park in partnership with Worcester County Council and Worcester Chamber of Commerce. and we have 9% voting and non-voting shares in that, where the P1 and P2 ones in the table will show that dividends pertaining to that are 3% and 6.37% coming from those shares. Our commercial investments, these are in Tenbury Business Park, Spring Court, Spring Lane, and this portfolio has been assessed and underlying assets deemed to provide security of capital. We have limits on external debt as required by the SIPFA Prudential Code. And since our debt is zero and we aim to remain so over the next 3 financial years, we will not be, we are unlikely to be calling on those limits or using up those limits, as we don't intend to have any debt. So that is the strategy for 2026-27, and it's recommended to Council for approval.
Thank you very much, John. Could I ask for a second, please? Thank you, Jeremy. Can I invite members now to debate, please? Anyone?
Could I just ask the team to take over Worcester County Council's finances as well, please? Thank you.
Ain't got any money to pay us.
Are there any more comments, please? So shall we take that to the vote?
Okay, all those in favour, could you raise your cards now, please? That's unanimous.
Which brings us on to item 9. The Malvern Hills District Council response to the proposed reforms to the National Planning Policy Framework and other changes to the planning system. Could I invite Councillor David Harrison to move the recommendation in the report, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. So far, we've been 12 minutes. There's 100 and odd pages in this. So according to Worcester, we'd probably finish tomorrow morning, but we're not, and what have you. But this is obviously very important from our point of view as a district council and what have you. And I would just like to sort of try and sum it up a little bit. As I say, it's many, many pages. The report sets out Malvern Hills District Council's proposed response to the government's consultation on the major reforms to the National Planning Policy Framework, NPPF for those. These are probably the core points that I could extract from it. The purpose of this report is to consult on a wide-ranging reforms to the NPPF and related planning processes. This consultation runs from the 16th of December until 16th of December until 11:45 on Tuesday, the 10th of March. It's in a completely new format. I haven't got my head around it yet as to how it links together, but it seems to be able to find most of what I want. The report presents draft responses for councillors to endorse before submission. So you'll see a lot of these in the appendices and what have you. You'll see it's been very, very carefully set out by our officers with what happens to the questions, and they have highlighted very carefully in yellow the responses of how they feel this should go. The key recommendations: the councillors are asked to approve the draft consultation response, that's the whole of this appendix, and delegated authority would allow the head of service with the portfolio holder to submit the final response by the deadline. I don't have a problem with that. Overview of the proposed NPPF reforms. The government proposes a comprehensive restructured NPPF. As I said, it's all written in a totally different way. and it's quite hard until you get into it to sort of find anything. Unfortunately, the pages haven't been numbered, which doesn't make it any easier either. So hopefully they will do a lot of that as well. It makes the national policy clearer, more accessible, and more rules-based. Not a keen of rules, but some of them you obviously do need. Separate policies for plan making and decision making to improve the usability. Quite agree with that. Reduce the variation in local standards by creating a consistent national suite of policies. This should also help to reduce work on larger plans for like our SWDPR and what have you in the future. It'll also provide more certainty, a default yes to development in desirable locations. The only one I can find at present is by railway stations, so I was quite pleased about that because although we have a couple in the whole of the area, it will mean, contrary to what they're doing down in Glenbrook, what's it called, Tom? Lynchbrook. I wasn't far out. I could never say it anyway. And put the stuff by railway stations. It'll provide a more certain default yes to development in desirable locations. It'll unlock housing supply, support commercial growth, simplify approaches to climate change, environmental protection, and also heritage. There are new and revised chapters including cleaner energy and water, sustainable use of minerals, pollution, public protection and security. Flood risk and coastal changes are separate from the climate change. One of the main things it will do, it will also incorporate the current travelling show people's documentation and bring it all into one particular document. Now, some of the notable specific proposals: a new medium development category for housing will be included. At present, we have two. We have a small development and a large development. So the small sites will be from 1 to 9 dwellings. The new category for medium development will be for 10 to 49 homes on sites of up to 2.5 hectares. And the larger sites will be for 50 and above. Clarification that national decision-making policies will not yet be statutory. They have to, this is the consultation, and then the government will come back and say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't agree. So views are being sought. Additional consultation questions rely on energy thresholds, data centres, standardised viability inputs, reform in site thresholds, and what have you. All of this is in the supporting documents, Appendix 1, and what have you, which is the draft consultation response. And I would like to propose those policy, that item section 2.1, to approve the draft consultation to go forward and what have you, and wait to see if there are any responses from members here. Don't forget they can come in for approximately another week and a half, something like that, before you will lose that particular option. Isabel Roberts, who's been leading on this, has come all the way again over from Wychavon. Thank you, Isabel. If anybody has any questions on this, now is the time, please, to ask.
Thank you very much, Davy. Could I ask for someone to second Davy's proposition? Okay. Thank you, Dean.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
Thank you. As I think most of our councillors will have a high confidence in the ability of our officers, and I would say particularly in Isabel's ability, who's almost made this comprehensible to us. I think I understand about a quarter of what she said at the moment after twice listening to her explanation of it. My level of confidence is such that I'm sure that if our national planners took our officers' advice, it would turn more into a horse rather than a camel. Whether they'll do so is a different matter, but I'm very happy to second this.
I open it up to the floor now, please. Do we have?
Okay, thanks. I've got a few comments and a question, but first of all, thank you to officers for the time and effort they've put into the response. I have read it all, actually. I did fall asleep a few times, but that's not your fault, is it? It's because it's so long. So a couple of quick questions on specific points. So point 181, it's talking about nest boxes, but then it narrows that down into Swift boxes. And I agree with you in the comment that that's too narrow. But there are a few times where I've noticed that questions are unanswered from we haven't provided a response. So for example, 182 on protected landscapes, that's an unanswered question. So I'm assuming that all of the blanks that there are at the moment will be completed prior to submission in March. Question about conservation areas. Notably, they're included in chapter 20 on historic environment, not 19, natural environment. So could that have a detrimental impact on our AONB, SSIs, conservation areas, etc.? And these questions are quite small points, but they are important, but relatively insignificant, I think, in the grand scheme of things, because, as I said, I've read around this and I've read our responses. I was just wondering if we are providing an overarching summary statement to go alongside these individual responses, a kind of general how we feel about these plans and what impact they might have on us as a council, because there's quite a lot to worry about from my point of view in the government's latest proposals, including removing our local powers to ask for better standards. We want to deliver homes and buildings that are cheap to run and warmer places to be in. And we've spent years developing rigorous evidence-based viable plans to deliver comfortable, energy efficient, affordable homes where we can, obviously acknowledging the fact that the power is with the developers. The proposed NPPF would block this from happening in the future, from what I've been reading. So surely we need a planning system that matches our ambition, not one that centralises power in Whitehall forevermore. We've heard that before somewhere recently, haven't we? And frustrates and undermines our power to deliver the homes that our communities deserve, also acknowledging the fact that obviously we won't be here very long either. I'm aware of a letter that was circulated to councils by UK 100, asking them to become signatories to some of the concerns that they've shared. So it's asking them to call on government to allow local authorities to continue to set energy efficiency standards for new homes. Better, obviously, for the planet, but also for our residents who need warmer homes and cheaper bills. They're up against it at the moment already. And the letter also expresses concern that no environmental assessment of the impact this policy change has been made available. And it's calling for its urgent publication before the deadline of the 10th of March. So did we receive an invitation to contribute to that letter and be a co-signatory? And if so, why didn't we sign it or at least bring a decision for us to discuss? So thank you.
Don't I go to Isabel first of all?
Just to make you aware, no, I have not seen this document. No, I have not commented on it because I haven't seen it.
Thank you for that, David. Please may I go to Isabel to answer some of Natalie's other queries? Thank you.
Yep, thank you. I'll try and answer as many of them as I can. No, it's okay. I've tried to write down as many as possible, so apologies if I do miss a few. On the question about blanks, there are a few in there that aren't specifically related to us. So for example, there's some questions on Minerals Authority. We are not the Minerals Authority, that would be County Council. Therefore, we haven't answered those questions. For some of the others, it might be that for landscapes, for example, we have been talking with our colleagues who deal with the landscape work over in the historic and built environment, and we just didn't get their responses in time to put those in for the publication for the documents to send round to members. But where we have had those responses, we'll be able to drop them in, and then we will circulate with Councillor Harrison as the portfolio holder to ensure that he's happy with those responses that go in. With regard to the conservation areas, we can ensure that we make that response as well, if that's something you would like to put forward. I would ask if you could send your comments through to us, and then we can kind of go through them with a bit more of a fine-tooth comb than me scribbling them down as I've heard them now. And that's the same with the standards. We're not happy with the blanket approach that they're looking to bring forwards. There are some that we already, or there are some that they're technical optional standards, so we are bringing those forwards or continuing them through the SWDPR. But then obviously there are others, as you have mentioned, that would fall away because of the changes that are being proposed through the NPPF. With regard to the letter from the UK to 100, sorry, can't get my words out right now. I haven't seen that one. I'm not sure if that's come through to someone else at all.
I don't recall it either, Natalie. So, but I'll double check. But I don't recall seeing it.
But I'll double check as well from my side of things. And then I also haven't seen an environmental assessment that's been circulated either. But we can ensure that we include that. We haven't written a summary statement as the response because there were, I think it was 225 questions. So it was quite a lot in itself as it was. However, if that is something, we can also look into doing that as well and then circulate with the portfolio holder.
Thank you. I really appreciate those responses. The last thing I want to do is to cause you extra work, but I do think that it might be helpful to outline our position in a general statement, sort of like a headline sort of summary of our main concerns before the questions. Oh yes, Vic, you're going to tell me off.
No, not at all. I was going to suggest a covering letter and then send the covering letter to the relevant government minister or something of that nature. Might be more impactful, but we'll take that away and think about that.
Whatever they are most likely to take notice of, please, would help. Thank you.
I have a question from Neville Mills, please.
Firstly, may I compliment the staff on the production of this excellent document. My only concern is reading through it, I noticed several typographical errors. Could they please proofread this document before it is posted, as these errors are likely to reduce the value of this document to those who might otherwise read it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neville. Paul Bennett, Councillor Paul Bennett.
Thank you. Has there been a response from the National Landscape? Because we wouldn't hear about it normally, but we have councillors here who are on it. So I wanted to find out what they had done in relation to this. And I was also very relieved to get reassurance that the protections for our national landscape area will still remain, except for large infrastructure projects. But again, the national landscape representatives from our council should really kind of reassure us that basically they have done everything they can to put their two pennyworth into this. And if somebody could reassure us, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, I do have a councillor that wants to speak, Sarah Rouse.
Do you want to answer Paul's comment first? I don't know. I don't know who they are either, but I would assume that somebody asked them. I don't know.
Thank you, Chair. The National Landscapes Committee only meets in April and November, so we haven't had a session, that fitted with the timing of this. I'm sure if we talk to the National Landscape Officer, Paul, he will have read it, and perhaps he should have fed a copy in that. I'm happy to take it up with him if that would help. But that's the problem, that they only have these 2 meetings a year, and so a lot of things like this, don't necessarily fit into their timescales terribly well.
Well, thank you very much, John. Does that answer your query, Paul?
Yeah, I was worried that that might be the case actually. So I think, you know, it would be a good idea because let's face it, they're the number one defence that we have in this area for our remarkable landscape. And if basically they aren't actually involved in this, we're less protected.
Thank you both very much. So shall I now go to Councillor Rouse?
Sorry, it's just a technical question, well, and a suggestion. If you stick it all into ChatGPT, it'll probably give you a nice summary without you having to do anything magical thing. It's just a technical question. If you read the recommendation, it doesn't say anything about we'll add in extra things after today's meeting for you to endorse. It just says we will endorse the proposed responses and delegated approval. But if we're now saying that some people didn't get around to giving their responses, we don't know what they are, so we won't be approving them under this recommendation to go in to the. So there's some way around that might be useful. Just shared with people who are interested or something, because otherwise we've got no council endorsement to put them in the report.
I think it is covered because the recommendation reads, the members consider and endorse the proposed responses to the consultation and give delegated approval to the head of the service in consultation with the portfolio holder to submit the responses to MHCLG online. So as Isabel mentioned, the bits that they add in, they'll discuss with David. But if everybody would like to see that final version, I'm sure, Isabel, we can arrange to send that to everybody.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does. Yeah, you could read it that way, or you can read it, we will agree these proposed responses and then David will submit them. It doesn't say, but we'll add in some different ones that we don't quite know what they are yet. So it's just for real clarity, it should read something like, give delegated approval to the head of the service in consultation to submit additional responses or anything. You know, it's that bit. You've not got approval to add in random things between now and when you send it off. Well, you know, but you could add in, technically David could add in anything he wants between now and then. And we've gone, well, yeah.
So, David, would you be happy if we changed it to something like, in consultation with the portfolio holder, to submit the proposed responses and any appropriate additional changes? Yeah.
And I'm willing to second that amendment.
Can I just say, after Natalie spoke, I did write down, my first thing that I wrote down was circulate the final draft to all members.
Thank you, David. Have you got any more comments? Thank you, Councillor Mead.
That's better. Yeah, I would like Natalie was concerned about the provisions for house insulation and efficiency and so forth. And it does seem to be very skewed where the developers have all sorts of ways of being able to get out and reduce it. And this is particularly unfortunate because if you look at the continental standards for this, they're a lot higher than ours. And I do not see really there's any reason why they should be watered down.
Is that it? Are there any other comments?
I'd just like to say, thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to say that I don't like the assumption that development is going to be acceptable unless there's something else that we can come up with to turn it down. I'm also concerned about the environmental and heritage protection side of things, because we're very fortunate in that we have an AONB right around us, and I'm concerned that the NPPF in general will limit our ability to turn anything down. And the government's planning policy seems to equate any area with any other area, and not to create a distinction between areas like ours and inner city areas. I just find it very concerning that this is the direction of travel for national planning. I think there's a lot that there are too many delays in the planning system, but I don't want to see it rushed, and I don't want to see it unified in the way that this plan seems to be projecting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I call on Jeremy Owens, Councillor Jeremy Owens?
Yeah, so this is I think this is actually a good response. This is a response to consultation by the MP, to update the MPPF, and I think what the officers have done with, I hope, councillor input is try to express some of the concerns that we're hearing today around the national landscapes and the rurality of it, and that's the purpose of the consultation. I know there's comments in here around us thinking that we should be stronger on some of our environmental requirements, so we're saying must rather than could, and I know that we've got some concerns around the definitions of rural settlements, because again, if you've got a generic policy that covers towns and metropolitan areas and then covers an area that's very similar to us, the perception of what rural is could be quite different. So I think it's a very good piece of work by the officers in response that does really try to bring out the uniqueness of this area and try and get the uniqueness of the area reflected in the NPPF. If the government listens and does put those exceptions in that we're asking for, or make the changes that help protect our area more, then it's a good response to a piece of consultation. But that's what we're doing here, responding to consultation. So thanks to the officers for the time that they've taken to do this.
Thank you very much. Are there any more comments? Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, just to sort of finish up, this is a national consultation that's been sent out and what have you. So every single member, every person, resident, councillor, anything, has the opportunity, if you wish, to respond to this. So I do appreciate the comments that have been made today, and I'm sure our officers will be taking some of that, if not all of that, into account. But please note, you can write yourself. You have until the deadline to do that and what have you. So I thoroughly recommend that you do.
Thank you very much, David. Councillor Julie Wood, please.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. I've sort of got a general point and then a very minor one. I read the whole thing over a cup of tea, which was very nice. And my initial reaction was that this is about cramming in as much development as possible. And I think that is obviously what the government's trying to do at the moment. So it's not surprising, but a lot of the wording in it to me was very scary, actually. And there's one particular bit, which is a minor bit, but actually it made me think, building on corner plots. Often a lot of areas only have a corner plot that's got a few trees on it or a little bit of space for people to play, children to play on. And building on corner plots and then building up high, etc., could completely transform some areas where we live, not just in our area, everywhere all over the country. And I know the government's got a pledge to build 1.5 million homes, but to me this is a very scary revision of the NPPF, and I've seen many of these over my 40 years in planning. So I am actually quite worried about it, and that's just my view. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have we got any other councillors?
Just one more thing. To let you know that Malvern Town Council are looking at their response now, and they will be putting one in as well.
Thank you very much. If there are no more comments, I'll put that to the vote.
So all those voting for, please raise your cards now. That's unanimous.
So item 10 is for noting only, and it's the forward plan. Is that it? Okay, so item 11, there's no notice of motion has been submitted. So it's given me great pleasure to close the meeting at